Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. This past weekend, March 6th, Sunday, it was reported that there was the shooting of a pastor at an Idaho church. I read this story, I decoded it, I put it on my blog, it made my eyes glaze over. I wasn't going to do a video about it, but now the story has evolved into something more. The shooter has been arrested outside the White House after throwing a computer flash drive over the fence. So let's quickly go over what shows that the shooting at the church in Idaho was a hoax put on by another Masonic man pretending to be something he's not within the church. Then let's decode all the reporting on what happened at the White House. And we'll even close with a little Bible reading because I want people to understand the Bible is not the Word of God. God does not work through books. God works through all of us. And you just have to have your mind be open to God to receive the message. It's not about religion. It's not about what's in books. The Bible is very Masonic. We're going to cover that in just a moment. There's all sorts of Masonic assholes that hide within the church, and that's what I want people to take away. So, the man shot the pastor was named Tim Remington. And if you're not aware, Remington is a gun manufacturing company. I have been talking about for years how these shooting hoaxes are boosting gun sales. And I wouldn't be surprised if Remington themselves sponsored this propaganda piece. The pastor's name is Tim Remington, gematria of 67, like satanic, also like Freemasonry, also like blood sacrifice. He did not die, just reportedly shot. Tim, in simple English gematria, sums to 42. If you're named Tim, that doesn't mean you're a Freemason, but it is a fitting name for a Masonic hoax with fitting numbers. The first Bibles printed were called 42-line Bibles, supposedly published in history on March 22nd, a very Masonic date. Matthew has gematria of 27. It's the first book of the New Testament, which the Christians go by. There's 27 books in the New Testament. Matthew equals 27. The way Matthew begins, which we'll read at the end, is with a tribute to 42. Remington equals 115. Killing in Jewish gematria equals 115. So does Freemasons, the plural, in simple English gematria, possibly a tribute and a name to the Masonic network. Story was the Idaho pastor was shot in the parking lot after the church service on Sunday at about 2 o'clock p.m. local time, which is also 1400 hours military standard time. The way Matthew begins is with tributes to 14, 14, and 14 for a sum of 42. Talk about the church name in just a moment. The shooter, the suspect, they said was named Kyle Andrew Odom. They love to give us these three-part names. They say he's an ex-Marine, just like Lee Harvey Oswald. Anyhow, Kyle Andrew Odom equals 66. This shooting was on the 66th day of the year. Let us not forget that most Bibles are 66 books in length, with the final book being Revelation. Odom is a name with 47 gematria. Christian equals 47. So does the word president. This story went from him being the shooter of a Christian pastor in the parking lot of Idaho to being 2 days later outside the White House getting arrested trying to pass a message to the president. So a fitting name there, Odom. Christian 47, president 47. Obey equals 47. Authority equals 47. Judge equals 47. Gavel equals 47. Mafia in Jewish gematria equals 47. They say this took place at the Altar Church. Of course, the 113 gematria. In the past year's time, I've done several stories having to do with, mainstream incidents reported at churches, from the beating of a young child by church members to other shootings. It's always a church with a 113 name, every time. And that's because These are the Masonic churches, the ones that participate in the government propaganda, that are part of the Illuminati network, if you want to call it that. Altar Church 113, just like mainstream, just like dishonest, just like Scottish, as in Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Green Screen has the gematria of 113. Think about how fitting that is for fake imagery shown in the dishonest, propaganda-based media. The small way Altar Church also equals 50. America equals 50, 50 states, propaganda for the nation. This guy, this man who shot Tim Remington, look at him. This is his church. Trusted in the background. You know, the liars always want to say, trust me. And who's he advocating for? Ted Cruz, the guy who goes before the nation and says he believes in Jesus and wants to carpet bomb brown people. And he says it all in one sentence. It's just sick. It's just sick. Who are these mindless zombies that support these people? And a Christian minister to support a man such as this? I mean, people ask me why I'm not a Christian. What I want to know is, why are you a Christian? What has Christianity done for the world that's positive? Everywhere Christianity has gone, so has warmongering. The longest ongoing civil war in the world is in Burma, an Asian nation. And why did that civil war start? It started when Christianity came to the country. At the end of World War II, the Civil War is still going. What happened when the Christians came over from Europe to North America? They said that the brown people were savages, godless heathens, without their Bibles. So what was fitting for them? Genocide. Genocide. Because they weren't Christian. Here's Ted Cruz. Before every debate, he always does the hidden hand, tucks his right hand inside of his vest, inside of his suit jacket. That's a Masonic pose. This is the Masonic network. Tributes in the words, in their gestures. Let's not forget Ted Cruz was the first candidate to announce he was running for president, now one of the only remaining. So anyhow, here's today's update, March 9th. Last night, he's arrested at the White House. Again, Kyle Andrew Odom, 66th. Original news story from the 66th day of the year. Notice these details. South fence, 8:27 p.m. There's a reason they give us these details. They even say he had a manifesto. Ex-Marine. Marine, a word with 33 gematria. This entire story comes from the police. The police are controlled by the Freemasons. The police are not to be trusted in the same way the media are not to be trusted, in the same way your federal government is not to be trusted, in the same way religious leaders are not to be trusted. And I don't mean to say that every pastor out there is bad. I was raised a Lutheran. The man at our church, I still remember his name, Pastor Jake. Very nice human being, very kind human being, very non-judgmental. Grateful to have had him in my life. And when I speak out against Christianity, I don't speak out against people like him or the Christians who aren't contributing to wrongdoing. But I do not like religion. I see it as a control mechanism. I know how it keeps people from thinking. I know how it keeps them, in the slave state we're in. So anyway, Marine and police matching gematria. Police kind of like the military force for the domestic population, here to protect the rich, elite, dishonest scum, do nothing for the working class. Take it from me. My house robbed by my neighbor across the street in collaboration with the local police department. You know who ended up getting arrested? I did. And what did I get arrested for? For telling my neighbor to F off because he was continually harassing me. After he robbed my house, he went out and filed a restraining order, which a judge upheld. What do we have this criminal defense system for? It's only here to protect the criminals. Whole country's a joke. Anyway, we talked about the 113 with the church. He was arrested at the South Fence, the article said. South Fence has gematria 44 and 116. He's trying to talk to the 44th president, Barack Obama, who ran on hope. Hope in gematria equals 44, just like kill. And as I've said in a number of recent videos, all throughout history, leaders, civil rights leaders to presidents to prime ministers and more have been assassinated by this number 44. As for 116, that's the number 911 flipped upside down in history on a Tuesday. September 11th happened. This story is from Tuesday night, voting day. Ever ask yourself, why Tuesday? Why not a whole week? Why not a whole month? Why one Tuesday? Anyhow, the other detail was 8:27 Eastern Standard Time. That's the same as 2027 military time. In numerology, 0 doesn't count, so that number's a lot like 227, a number that shows up in assassinations again and again. Abraham Lincoln, dead at 7:22 in the morning, the reflection. JFK, 44th term president, following the car with the 227 license plate. The committee appointed to investigate his assassination, the full gematria of that committee, sums to 722. I have videos on all of this. The most recent presidential assassination on Ronald Reagan happened at 2:27 in the afternoon on March 30th, 1981, also the month of March, a date with 133 numerology, like government, like White House. This story at the White House, similar time, a little bit trickier coded. Also from this reporting, the officer who's given us the details is out of Coeur d'Alene. Coeur d'Alene police chief is who gave the time. Think about this. The Coeur d'Alene police chief is who's giving the details on what time the arrest was outside the White House. But I also have to laugh that his name is Lee White. If you're not aware, Coeur d'Alene is the headquarters for white supremacy in this country. Old officer Lee White. KKK equals 33. That's the 11th letter times 3. Police equals 33. Who do you think used to wear those white sheets? Yeah, you're right. The local Freemasons, the local police, the local sheriff. That's who it's always been. The people who've been given the power to rule over us for this tyrannical government that we, the people, don't do anything about. So anyway, they say the shooter had a manifesto. Manifesto has that gematria of 39, fitting for a March 9th story. This is making the news March 9th. 3-9. Manifesto the big way also equals 102. United States of America has a connection to 102. Civil War started on the 102nd day of the year, April 12th. No coincidence. History by the numbers. Today, March 9th, can also be written 9/3, which fits with propaganda. This is complete propaganda, foretelling what's to come, foreshadowing their next propaganda move. They say he updated his Facebook page. We know who really controls that Facebook page, the feds. The Facebook created by the federal government. Mark Zuckerberg, just a front for the CIA. People don't put 2 and 2 together. Think about it. Cell phones came out, 9/11, Facebook, smartphones, building a police state. We can all be tracked through all of our smartphones. People are waiting for the chip to come. They don't need to chip us. They can track us with our smartphones. We all keep them on our body at all times. Cameras everywhere. Cameras on our phones. Cameras in our cars. Recording devices in our cars. This is how they've built the police state around us. And they have to keep spooking us, making us think we need even more security, even more safety. Notice this pastor, Remington, is 55 years old. We talked about how his name connected to satanic. Satan equals 55. Quite fitting for a fraud in another Christian church to participate in a shooting hoax. So, Truth Seeker, I just want to read a little bit of the Bible to you to enforce how Masonic it is and why there's so many Masonic frauds hiding in the church. Matthew, the first book of the New Testament. The New Testament is 27 books, very short compared to the Old Testament. They called the original Bibles 42-line Bibles. First Bible printed was the 42-line Bible, also known as the Gutenberg Bible, of 66 books. Gutenberg Bible equals 66. The credited publishing date of the Gutenberg Bible, March 22nd, 1457, most recognized date. March 22, very popular date for the Masons. That date's written as 22/3 in most parts of the world. Remember, Masonic equals 223 in Jewish gematria. The New Testament follows the Old Testament, which the Jews go by. Masonic also equals 74. Let's go over the 74 coding in the Bible, spirituality, the Masonic religions of the world. We'll start with the Quran so the Christians don't get too offended. Muhammad, the prophet since Jesus, in the Quran, gematria of 74. Gospel, the story of Jesus, gematria of 74. Jesus, the Messiah, gematria of 74. The Greek spelling, Yeshua, 74. The English translation of Jesus is Joshua, gematria of 74. Jesus crucified on the cross at age 33, 74, 74. Some people say Jesus was Jewish. Other people are violently opposed to this. Jewish, though, has the gematria of 74, just like Masonic. And many people say Freemasonry, a Jewish creation. The reason Oregon's up here is because no other state has gematria of 74, only 1 of 50, meaning 2%. For anyone starting to get the idea that every word sums to 74, not so. Only Oregon, which is the 33rd state, 33 and 74, a Masonic pairing, just like Jesus on the cross at 74. And you know what the Masons want you to do? They want you to believe. Can you see the gematria of belief? They want you to believe. And they also want to waste your time. Let's just read the beginning of Matthew. And I want you to ask yourself, would God write this way? Because if so, I think God doesn't care about people's time. And God is all about arbitrary information. Just like the way they code out these news stories with a bunch of meaningless shit. Uber driver. Did you know his final cab fare was $5.23? Who gives a shit? Let's read some Matthew. So right from the beginning, Matthew 1. The book of the generation of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. What's interesting is David in gematria sums to 40, Abraham sums to 44, put it together it sums to 84, Savior equals 84. Interesting. Also with regards to Abraham equals 44, Masons have grand lodges, grand equals 44. The Freemason G represents both 33 and 44. Matthew 2. Abraham begat Isaac. Isaac equals 33. And Isaac begat Jacob. And Jacob begat Judas and his brethren. And Judas begat Phares and Zara of Thamar. And Phares begat Ezram. And Ezram begat Aram. And Aram begat Aminadab. And Aminadab begat Nazasan. And Nazasan begat Salmon. And Salmon begat Boaz. And Rashab. And Boaz begat Obed of Ruth. And Obed begat Jesse. And Jesse begat David the king. And David the king begat Solomon of her that had been the wife of Urias. And Solomon begat Roboam. And Roboam begat Abiadan. And Abiah begat Azah. And Azah begat Josaphat. And Josaphat begat Joram. And Joram begat Ozias. And Ozias begat Joatham. And Joatham begat Achaz. And Achaz begat Ezekias. We're almost to the point, Truth Seeker, but just ask yourself, who writes like this? And what's the point of knowing this? And Josias begat Jeconias and brethren about the time they were carried away to Babylon. And after they were brought to Babylon, Jeconias begat Salathiah. And Salathiah begat Zorobabel. And Zorobabel begat Abiad, and Abiad begat Eliakim, and Eliakim begat Azor, and Azor begat Sadak, and Sadak begat Achim, and Achim begat Aliad, and Aliad begat Alazar, and Alazar begat Mathiam, and Mathiam begat Jacob, and Jacob begat Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus, who is called Christ. So all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations. And from David until the carrying away into Babylon are 14 generations. And from the carrying away into Babylon unto Christ are 14 generations. Now the birth of Jesus Christ was on this wise, when as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Ghost. So that's how Matthew begins, the story of Jesus. You know, Truth Seeker, I used to read the Bible and try to figure out what it was all about. And, I noticed all the numbers in there, and I thought, what's with the numbers? This is how I figured out gematria long ago, was by reading the Bible. So I have to give the Bible that much credit. But, something I've understood since I was a child is it just doesn't make sense that God would give a book to the earth and say, this is my word. Think about how many years humans existed before the Bible. What was God waiting for? Critical thinking, logic, reasoning, the Bible destroys all that. And I'm not saying everything's wrong with the Bible. I think there's a lot of truth in it. I think there's a lot of wisdom, a lot of things people can benefit from. But all of us, within us, we know what's right from wrong. We know what we should do for our fellow man. God has created us. We have inner workings that let us know right from wrong. We don't need a book. We don't need to divide over books and religion. This is absurd. This is insanity. Fighting over whose book's right. In my life right now, I have 3 people who all want me to join their religion. I know a man from Saudi Arabia who thinks I'd make a great Muslim. I know several people who wish I was a Christian. And I know someone who is of the Baha'i faith, and he would really like for me to join his faith. He thinks I would make a great Baha'i. And at the end of the day, I think all of these religions are made by the same gang. My work's about waking people up. I want them to wake up to see the Freemason ownership of this world and how the news is coded no different than the Bible, because it's all the trademarks of the same gang who wants nothing more than to rule over people and control them and be trusted, even though they have no reason to be trusted. For all of you who say, Muhammad's the truth or Jesus is the truth, fine. Just realize there is a God. People can access that God a number of different ways. It doesn't have to be your way or the highway, as it says in this book and other books. That's the whole problem with these books and what it does to people. I just put out this video the other day about what's coming May 23rd, very likely, and there's all sorts of comments from Christians that I need to pray to Jesus and stop doing this work, because only Jesus can stop us, and I shouldn't be doing this. This isn't my place. Where are these people speaking from? They're speaking from the ignorance that is promoted within. Wait for Jesus. Wait for Jesus. How many people do you think are buried underground under a cemetery stone that waited for Jesus their whole lives? They saw everything wrong with the world and they know Jesus was coming to fix it all any day. Are you supposed to wait for another 2,000 years? 2,000 years? Children suffer for another 2,000 years? I'm 32 now. I grew up as a child suffering in this world because of the way it was, like so many children do. And that's why I speak out. For all the people who make videos and say, I'm just trying to get people to give up their soul and send them to hell. Whoa, way off, way wrong. I'm trying to make the world a better place. I'm trying to help people see the light, come to take action so kids don't have to grow up under tyranny anymore. Go to school and have their whole day wasted. Learn a bunch of bullshit. Grow up, work some slave job for some slave wage. Get sprayed with chemicals. Where's Jesus at? This guy telling everybody to believe in Jesus. You think he believes in Jesus? You think any of these Christian fraud ministers, wealthy millionaires, believe in Jesus? All they care about is themselves and exploiting the system that's in place. I don't want to exploit the systems that's in place. I could do that, I have the skills to exploit the system that's in place. Instead, what do? I sacrifice, I fight back, I do all this for free. So let's not get the message twisted. All right, until next time, Truth Seeker.